Hey, Chaotic Crew, Brian here, and I've got another fun Avatar The Last Airbender deck tech to go through. You don't see my face. I'm having some computer issues with Wi-Fi and camera and whatnot, so just trying to figure all that out. So you might not see my face for the next few weeks here, but um, despite that, we are still moving forward with more deck techs. We are going to be doing a TMNT giveaway in the future, so make sure to like the video if you enjoy the content and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that when that comes out. And otherwise, want to dive into this Ozai, the Phoenix King deck. But before we do, I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Mana Pool, a fast-growing marketplace for Magic the Gathering that makes buying and selling cards easy. Their optimizer helps you get the best value in buying cards, and the team is focused on making it a great experience for buyers and sellers alike. Big thanks to Mana Pool for helping out the channel here, and without further ado, Ozai, the Phoenix King. He is a 7/7 human noble with trample, firebending 4, and haste. Now 6 mana is a lot, but he does a lot when he hits the field, so kind of like it very much, right? That haste allows him to attack in, get firebending 4, which as a refresher gives you 4 red mana, and then is probably going to hit in for 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, which is really great. Also has, if you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes red instead. So the Firebending 4, yep, you don't have to spin that before combat's over, which is really great. And then Ozai has flying and indestructible as long as you have 6 or more unspent mana. So you only need 2 more, when he attacks for him to become flying and indestructible. So really love that. This deck is really, you could go a lot of different ways. I think multiple combats is kind of the cheapest way to build him. I don't really like that. It's not that fun to play against. And you know me, I love playing absolute massive bodies for cheap. So getting this free 4 mana helps us cast some of those big bodies. You can see some of the creatures I've added down here, and we'll get to those right now. Pretty much the goal is you want to have cards that you can really get the most value off of getting their, or being able to spend the 4 mana you get off your commander just to cast another spell that turn, right? So I have a lot of 4-drops in here, not just creatures, but in general, that you could just cast after playing your commander and attacking with him. One of them is Any Causal Vestige, because you can warp it out for 4. So when Any Causal Vestige leaves the battlefield, draw a card, then you may put a permanent with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. So just a tiny bit of extra card draw, and maybe help cheat something big onto the battlefield, which is nice. Avatar Roku Firebender is new in the set as well. Whenever a player attacks, add 6 red mana. Till end of combat, you don't lose this mana at step's end. And then you can pay 3 red mana to have target creature get +3/+0 until end of turn. So I actually really love this card because it's really incentivizing your opponents. You can play the politics of like, hey, if you attack this person, I'll buff your creature by 3. So yeah, there's really fun things to do there. Brainstealer Dragon's great. It's an expensive spell, right? But you're also going to be exiling cards off your opponent's library at the end step. So because you're going to be having lots of extra mana, you can just use that and cast things from your opponents. Brainstealer is going to, trigger. It's just going to be really great to have in the deck. Clive, Ifrit's Dominant. You may, discard your hand, then draw cards equal to your devotion to red. So that's really great when you play him out probably a bit later. And then you can spend some mana to exile and transform him. He will remove a creature, most likely, and then it's going to get you a bunch of red mana. So this really helps and fits with the deck, I feel like. Emberwild Captain's fantastic, right? It's going to enter, you're going to become the Monarch and draw maybe another card or 2. And then it's disincentivizing your opponents from attacking you, right? If you are the Monarch and they attack you, they're going to lose life equal to the number of cards in their hand. So love that. Also, Go-Go Mysterious Mime is really interesting here. 4 mana, so you can play it after your commander attacks. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have Go-Go become a copy of another target creature you control, except its name is Go-Go. If you do, Go-Go and that creature each get +2/+0 and gain haste until end of turn and attack this turn if able. So if you can make Go-Go a copy of your commander, you're making 8 red mana a turn. So that's really why Go-Go is here. Pretty fantastic there. Inferno of the Star Mounts is sort of here as just a a bucket list win con, I guess. It's a 6/6 for 6 that can't be countered. It has flying and haste, and you can pay a bunch of red to keep buffing it +1/+0, but when its power becomes 20, it deals 20 damage to any target, so very cool there. Carter Doomscourge as another way to disincentivize opponents from attacking us. As you can tell, this deck is really built for a combat-heavy meta, and just making sure that your opponents are not focusing as much on you. So Carter Doomscourge is great for that. Kafka Dancing Mad is great. Pretty fantastic. You don't need the extra mana, but casting him early with the extra mana is always nice. And basically helps get more value from your opponent's stuff as well. You have the Eternal, another fantastic way to get some red mana after your main or your combat phase. And so if you attack him with your commander, let's say it does 4 damage, you get the Firebending 4. Now you have 8 mana to work with, right? So if you play Neheb that turn, you get 8 mana, you're +3 on the turn, right? So it's really great there. Ornithopter of Paradise, a 2 mana dork for this deck, can be a blocker late game, not bad to have. Prosper's interesting. We have a few exile cards here, and he's just great value. Incidental card draw on the creature, and will ramp you if you cast spells or play lands for that incidental card draw, so really great to have there. Rakdos, Patron of Chaos, another just, Rakdos good stuff. And that's kind of what this deck has kind of turned into, is more Rakdos good stuff, because you're just wanting to get the extra value off of that mana, right? But this really makes it so that you can choose an opponent to sacrifice 2 non-land, non-token permanents. If they don't, you draw 2 cards. So just some card draw here in the deck on a 6/6 Flampler. Solemn is fantastic to ramp out. You get the 4 Firebending from your commander, main phase 2, play Solemn, or play Solemn on turn 3 or 4, and then you're able to play your commander the next turn if you have a land in your hand, so that's always great too. Summon Esper Valagarmanda is really cool. Another card you can play after your commander gets the Firebending, and then exiles an instant or sorcery from each graveyard, and then gives you red mana for each lore counter on it, and you can cast those instants or sorceries as though mana of any color were spent to cast it, so those are great on future turns. Also included Valky, God of Lies here. We do run, we are getting a lot of extra mana, and Tibalt can exile stuff from an opponent's library. They can exile great creatures, and then you can just cast them, right, using mana of any color. So I thought Tibalt would be a great fit in this deck as we're trying to get massive amounts of mana. And then lastly for the creatures, Zuko Exiled Prince, another Firebending card, right? You don't have a ton of those in here, but just a commander and Zuko. You don't need it a lot, right? Because our commander is really the only one who has the ability to keep that mana, so we want our commander alive as much as possible. But Zuko is another great mana sink if we need to, and can give us some impulse drop, which is great to have. As far as sorceries, we have a good amount of sorceries here. Andrag's Rampage, destroys all of our opponent's artifacts and then gets a free creature essentially off of that. Apex of Power with our commander is going to be easy to cast and, be able to cast a bunch of stuff from exile. Blasphemous Edict and Call Forth the Tempest. Chandra's Ignition. Those are 3, board wipes, right? Chandra's Ignition works great with our commander, especially if it's flying and indestructible. Can't be stopped if someone has like a path or a swords. So not ideal. That's why we're also running Call Forth the Tempest. We have some big mana value stuff in here, but we also have some small mana value stuff in here. So something to keep in mind that this is mainly just for the double cascade, but you might have the benefit of wiping out most of your opponent's board as well. Blood-Soaked Insight is interesting. Costs 1 less to cast for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. And target opponent exiles the top 3 cards of their library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. If you cast a spell this way, mana of any type can be spent to cast it. So just giving us extra resources is fantastic, and taking them away from your opponent is always nice. And it fits pretty well with the deck. You can easily make this spell cost 2 mana just by hitting your commander, right? So then you use the 2 of the Firebending mana to cast it. It's really not that hard in this deck, but it also doubles as a land if you need to, so that's great there. Disrupt Decorum, fantastic to play. Obviously, you're going to be a powerful person on the board. Disrupt Decorum makes it so your opponents have to attack each other. Ensnared by the Mara, also a great, fantastic card to play after you've just hit somebody with Ozai. Each opponent faces a villainous choice. They exile cards on the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. Then you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Or that player exiles the top 4 cards of their library and ensnared by the Mara deals damage equal to the total mana value of those exiled cards to that player. So you're either getting something for free or burning them for a lot. And for a lot of decks, especially in a combat heavy meta, that's going to be, usually going to give you something for free, which is nice. Feed the Swarm, fantastic here. Need to get rid of those enchantments, so the great card to do it. Jessica's Will fits the deck. We have a bit of a, impulse draw sub theme, but I think that's just red and black in general. Just loves doing that. But also giving us that extra mana, fantastic. Also to give us some extra mana, we have Mana Geyser, Rousing Refrain. Those are both really good. And then Sozan's Comet gives all of our creatures Firebending 5 until end of turn. So we can get massive amounts of mana with this, right? And then if we have something to pump it into afterwards, that's great. Read the Bones to draw some cards. Reforge the Soul to refill our hand, right, if we go crazy. And then Relentless Assault gives us an extra combat. So we do have one of those cards. Nice to have there. Instance, we have Bolt Bend to protect our commander, Untimely Malfunction, and Wild Ricochet as well. It's great because we can get 4 mana off of attacking with our commander and then kind of hold it up if we have Wild Ricochet in our hand and be able to, reflect any removal spells at our opponents, which is great. Dark Ritual and Seething Song are 2 more rituals here that we want to, similar to give us a bunch of mana, which is nice. And then Great Train Heist is fantastic because it's a, extra combat step card that you can cast at instant speed. So that's really great. The last Agni Kai is cool. It's a removal spell that gets you some red mana and also makes it so that you don't lose that mana until end of turn, which is fantastic. Other removal spells, Overkill, Chaos Warp was really good. Withering Torment also gets rid of enchantments. Rakdos Charm's good to get rid of artifacts or exile a graveyard. And then we put Zuko's Exile in here because we're getting a bunch of mana with our commander. You're exiling, you can exile an enchantment, an artifact, or a creature. So that's really great to have in this deck, I feel like. And then we have 15 artifacts. A lot of mana artifacts here, right? We're trying to get it to our commander really quickly and make sure that we can do that. So Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Hedron Archive, Mind Stone, Prismatic Lens, so we can sort of filter that red mana if we want to into black mana. Rakdos Signet, Talisman of Indulgence, Wayfarer's Bauble. All those here are really trying to get our commander out a turn earlier. Black Market Connections down here will also help with that as well. And then we talked about some of the ways that we can get our commander out earlier and creatures as well. But Basilisk Collar going to give our commander Death Touch and Lifelink, which is amazing to have. Bender's Water Skin as another mana rock I totally passed over. It's going to give us a mana on each person's turn. So that's really great. With Sozan's ability, just going to continuously get us, a mana on each person's upkeep. So that's good. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots to protect our commander. Wand of Wonder is a fun way to pay 4 mana, that 4 firebending mana. If you don't really have anything in your hand, Wand of Wonder can help and get something from your opponent's library. And then Whip of Erebos, just another way to give us lifelink. We have a couple cards that pay us stuff. It can also get a creature out of our graveyard, so not bad. And then Camille the Inner Sun makes our creatures uncounterable, or spells in general, and then we discover 5 at our end step, which is always a plus. All right, Black Market Connections, like we said, can ramp us, can help draw us some cards. We're probably not going to get the Shapeshifters off of this, but we may. Braid of Fire is good. It's going to get us a bunch of mana, but it is only going to work with our commander on the battlefield, so there's that. And then the Legend of Roku is great. It's another spell you can cast after your commander attacks and pretty much make it so that it gives you 3 impulse draws, adds you a mana of any color, and then you get Avatar Roku, who also has Firebending 4, and you can sink in 8 mana to make a 4/4 red dragon with Firebending 4 as well. So just a way to sort of like continuously snowball and like an outlet for that mana. So really great there. And then we also have the Rise of Sozin, another board wipe, destroy all creatures, and then you remove a spell from opponent's library. And then you go to Firelord Sozin, who has Menace and Firebending 3. And whenever Firelord Sozin deals combat damage to a player, you may pay X. When you do, you put any number of target creature cards with total mana value X or less from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So it really filters into itself by destroying all creatures and then doing that. So pretty great here. We're running 3 board wipes because, or 4 really, but our commander can be indestructible, so it's always great to have a bit more of those. As far as lands, nothing crazy. War Room, Witch's Clinic to give our commander lifelink, Ghost Quarter to deal with other, I guess, lands. And then the Fire Nation Palace is a new card. You give a creature Firebending 4. It's essentially getting you +1 mana that you didn't have before. Not amazing, but it also isn't bad either. So good to know there. And then Arena of Glory to help give some of our creatures haste. But let's dive into the playtest. All right, we have 3 lands. Not ideal, but let's see it. Let's see if it works. Turn 1, nothing. Play the swamp. Turn 2, play a swamp. We do get the Arena of Glory. It comes in tapped, so not bad. Not bad. Turn 4. Okay. Turn 4, we can actually do stuff. Rousing Refrain. Yeah, I guess you could suspend this. And then I think the better play to do is to play Prosper. Right? And then in step, we exile the last Agni Kai, which is not bad. We can use it for removal next turn if we want to, but we're kind of low on the red mana. So next turn, Luxury Suite is fantastic draw here for us. 5 mana. I think we Rousing Refrain. And then that way it can re-exile itself. Maybe we get 4 or 6 mana back, right? And can cast Wand of Wonder, Bright of Fire, some of those things. We're casting our commander next turn, so we're kind of setting ourselves up for that, right? It's kind of the idea. So let's just say we do that. We're able to cast Wand of Wonder and not Braid of Fire, right? But we just have Wand of Water on the battlefield, so we can use that next turn. And our end step, sorry, that gets exiled, so we have that. We could cast that. All right, we play Witch's Clinic, cast our commander. He swings in. We get 4 mana, and then we can Wand of Wonder. And that really depends on what our opponents get. But because this is being exiled, it also procs Prosper. So that's really nice there. So it took us a second to get started there, and we had to go through a couple different hands. We just need 1 land for this hand to be really solid. So I say we keep it. And we are... that wasn't the land I was wanting, but it works. Turn 2. We are playing the Carnarium, which will bounce this back up to our hand. And because of this, we do have to discard. Man, I don't want to discard any of these cards. I guess we go with Jessica's Will, right? As a show of good faith. It kind of tells people our hand's not great. We need everything in it. And I know Esper can get it back out later. We can cast it again. So not too worried about that. But turn 3, here we go. We're cooking by the book now. And what we're going to do is we're going to tap all 3 mana, 2 of it for Prismatic Lens, and then tap the Prismatic Lens in the last mana for Talisman of Indulgence. So now next turn, we're casting our commander, which is really great. So love that for us. I'm actually going to do this. Next turn, we play Shadowblood Ridge, tap 6 for our commander, pay 4, and what's great is we can do the Legend of Roku or Esper Valagarmanda. Both are great. People probably only put ramp spells in here, not too many removal spells, so maybe we want to hold off on this. This is great too because this also does similar to Jessica's Will. We'll exile 3, but then we can play them next turn. So we play Avatar Roku, or the Legend of Roku, exile top 3, Command Tower, Arena of Glory, Dark Ritual. All right. Not great for us, but good to get those off the top of our deck, I guess. Next turn, a swamp. We get 4 mana to our mana pool, or 1 mana to our mana pool, excuse me. I guess we'll add black so we can cast Dark Ritual. and then we can go into like summon Esper Valagarmanda or something like that. Play the command tower, obviously. But yeah, lots of things we could do there. And maybe we just have mana in the mana pool so that Ozai can become flying indestructible. Who knows? Let's do one more quick one here. 2 mana, no ramp. So we're gonna say restart that. Okay. Again, we just need 1 more mana to kind of make this really work out. Okay, we'll keep this hand. No ramp, but we have 3 lands, so it's not bad. Let's start with a card draw and draw a 4th land, which is nice. Next turn and a 5th land. All right, no ramp, but we're definitely going to be able to cast our commander. Okay, if someone has ramped, we can Esper Valagarmanda on our next turn. Talisman of Indulgence is nice too. I think I like that to get our commander out a turn early. Okay, and now we play the Ghost Quarter, cast our commander, swing in, get 4 mana. We can Esper Valagarmanda or keep the mana up to us. Right, next turn we get Prosper, which is great, and whatever the instants and sorceries got us from Esper if we had done that. But yeah, fun deck. Pretty much you're just getting your commander out, getting the extra mana to get more value, play more cards a turn, and eventually outvalue your opponents. But it takes a bit to get there. Could definitely run more ramp spells, right? You can run the Iron Mirror and the, whichever the black one is. Maybe that's, I don't know. You can run more 2 mana dorks. That might be a good idea. You also have these, rituals to help get your commander out early too. So, just a thought. But yeah, let me know what you would take out of the deck, what you would put in the deck. I hope you enjoyed it. We've got more Avatar decks on the horizon. Otherwise, hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.